years, at least
Oh
a
my
year, but
gosh, I
right?
know.
It's like one of those soul
Too long.
connections, right? But I just love how intuition connects us all of the time. And so I'm just super excited that she's here and we can just dive right in and you all can feel her heart and just I just invite you all to open your heart right now just to receive the love that we're sending you and whatever is meant to be shared and available for you this morning that can really lift up your heart, help you just rise up to this new year about what you want to create and really accessing your intuition. So Wendy, just welcome, welcome, welcome. Is there anything else you want to share before we dive right in?
Well, thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I'm so excited to be kicking off my year together with you and everybody who's watching this and listening.
Absolutely. Well, before we went live, just so everybody knows, we're actually talking about intuitive guidance and how when you're listening to your intuition, it's always going to be based in love. It's going to feel good. Your heart's going to say yes. Your body's going to be at peace. And so just kind of notice, what your intention is for this year and where your intuition can support you to actually take those next steps into it with love. And so I just invite you to feel that presence of your own intuition within you. You may want to close your eyes, start to bring your awareness into your heart. You can even visualize the color green to open that heart chakra. And you can even rotate it like if you imagine an orb of light at the center of your heart. And if you rotate it in a clockwise direction, it'll actually open up that energy center. So you'll be rotating it from the right from within you. So if you were to take your right hand, it moves towards the right. And you open that up. And then I invite you to move down into your belly. So a couple inches below your belly button, right into your center. Let's just visualize the color yellow here. You may even want to put your hand there and just feel your own center, your own connection to the universe. And then maybe even feeling that light move down through your feet and just feeling it just move through your entire body, recognizing yourself as this being of light, as this being of love. And then just notice, where you're inspired to go, who you're inspired to connect with, and just feel that energy move you. And whenever you're ready, I invite you to open up your eyes and just notice how life feels probably a little more loving, right? Now that you have that perception, that love lens on. So, Wendy, is there anything else you want to share about that?
No, I love that. Yeah, just opening up your heart.
Yeah, totally, totally. So, Wendy, I know some of your story, but do you want to share with the audience a little how you got on the intuitive path and really kind of took the road less traveled and became a leader, right? Because you're like, hey, this is what's true. Let's advocate our voices and really come from this place of love. Do you want to share your story a little bit with the audience?
Definitely. Yeah, so I am biracial. So I'm half German, half Korean. And I grew up in my earlier years in Pittsburgh,
Mm,
Pennsylvania, in a very blue collar uh, type of very homogenous neighborhood. So I always stood out. And when I was young, I didn't appreciate that because I just wanted to blend in and conform and be like all the other kids. And so I spent a lot of time trying to assimilate. And then when I was 11, I ended up and that meant being white. Like I wanted to be as white as possible, and I didn't want to learn about my Korean culture or anything or the language or anything like that. And then when I was 11, I moved to Hawaii to live with my mom and stepdad, and I thought, oh, okay, well, I'm Asian, I'm going to blend in better here in this culture. But when I when I moved to Hawaii, actually people in Hawaii thought I was too white. And so once again, I didn't feel like I was accepted or fit in. And I spent a lot of energy trying to change myself again and trying to adapt to the Asian culture so that I could be accepted.
mm,
So I ended up like focusing a lot on what other people wanted me to be. So achieving academically, going to a good college, finding like I ended up going into business and corporate and climbing the corporate ladder and making my mom happy because I worked for like a big name company and I was making a lot of money. But then when I had children in my early 30s is when things started to shift for me. And I realized, okay, I'm not fulfilled. I'm not happy doing this. And I want to spend more time with my kids. And I also want to live not according to other people's expectations, but I want to do what I think is right for me and listening to my intuition. And that's when I started to explore coaching and becoming an author and now a speaker. And so yeah, that was kind of how my path went.
So awesome. What's your book, Wendy?
So my book is called Beyond Blending In: An Immigrant Daughter's Guide to Overcoming Cultural Bonds for a Life of Authenticity and Abundance.
I love that. Double A. It's awesome. Authenticity and abundance. Yeah, I love that because we were talking about that too. When you're authentic, it's like you radiate love, you
Mhm.
radiate the truth, right? And you can't really deny it. I think that's the thing about being authentic, right? Like we can repress for a while and pretty soon the real truth just kind of emerges. So I would love for you to share maybe some experiences with people you've worked with,
Mhm.
or yourself, of just how that. I also feel there's a certain safety and permission that we give ourselves and we give each other that creates the space to then become more authentic, and allow that truth to emerge.
Yeah, so one person who comes to mind is one of my clients and her name is Nicole. She's also a life coach for women of color. And when we started working together, she similarly, she came from a corporate background, Asian American, and she wasn't, she also was doing things. So, what's common in the culture is people pleasing
Mhm.
because from a young age, it's more about um, making your family happy, which in some ways can be great, right? Like family is important and very emphasized in the culture. But to the point where you lose yourself or you're inauthentic, I would say, because you're not living according to what's true for you. You're trying to do what other people want to make them happy,
Right.
right? Which is very inauthentic in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
So for Nicole, we did a lot of work on okay, who she was, what she wanted. That's something a lot of times when I ask my clients when we start working together, I'll ask them, what do you want? And a lot of times they don't know because, and it's interesting because I do have uh, clients who are white and clients who are women of color, and the women of color tend to have a harder time saying what they want because they weren't encouraged to ask that question from a young age.
Huh. Fascinating.
Yeah, and because their parents weren't ever like, what do you want?
Mhm.
Their parents were more typically, well, this is what you need to do to make
Wow.
us happy.
Right.
And so letting go of that and being able to express, and then there's also a lot of focus on achievement. So say you want something. So in Nicole's case, like she wanted to be a coach, but she had a lot of fear around that because she thought if she wasn't successful, then that would mean she wasn't good enough. And so, and there was also the fear of disappointing her family.
Mhm.
So working through a lot of that and really focusing on building up her self-love, her self-confidence, and not adding so much significance to achievement and results, but more on what feels good to you, what would be fun, what would be joyful, and that was able to really shift her, and now she has this really thriving business where she's making a huge difference in the community as a life coach. She spoke at Google. She's just doing all these amazing things, and it's because she's really in touch with who she is and being living an authentic life versus trying to conform. Another thing that came up with her and comes up with a lot of clients is uh, feeling like you have to be this authority figure. Like you have to be perfect, you have to have it all figured out and know exactly what you're doing, which is not authentic. You
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the work that we did and that I do with my clients is being okay and with your imperfection, like accepting your mistakes, accepting your failures, and having fun with it, and the learning process. And it's not about getting somewhere. It's really about being present and enjoying the every step of the path.
Hmm. That's beautiful. I love that. I feel like I would love for you to share if anything comes through, almost like a brief meditation to actually come in alignment with the acceptance and almost the acceptance of, let's just say, your deepest authentic truth, right? And if there
Hmm.
was any like stumbles there, like you said, have the compassion and self-love to embrace those. But I
Hmm.
just feel like just a centering place where they can actually feel what it feels like to speak
Hmm.
and really radiate that authenticity. Is there anything that comes, just like a little meditation where everybody can just kind of feel that connection?
Yeah, I think so. Are you asking me to do like a
Yeah,
meditation or
yeah. Do you
visualization?
like,
Okay.
yeah, do you like a 5 minute, like, breathe, if you would like to bring in the energy and just kind of feel that place of connection. So I think for me, the biggest teacher is an experience, right? So
Yeah,
offering people a
definitely.
way to connect and actually
Yeah,
feel the energy. Yeah, that's
definitely. So one of the things that I love to do is visualization. So yeah, so if you could just close your eyes and just really focusing on your heart space, and just whatever it is you want, especially going into the new year, whatever it is you want for your life. Maybe it's more joy. Maybe it's more connection. Maybe it's more abundance. Setting that intention and just feeling what that would feel like having that in your life. So, say it's more abundance, feeling that in your heart space. How does that feel? And breathing into that. And then feeling that in your shoulders. How does that feel? And in your gut, how does that feel as you feel that abundance just flowing, that abundant energy, that abundant light just flowing into your heart space? And what is that going to feel like radiating that abundance, that joy? How is that going to expand in your body and out of your body? Okay.
cool.
So yeah, because it's really about how we're going to feel. Like we want abundance, we want connection, we want these things because they're going to make us feel a certain way.
Hmm.
So if we feel that beforehand, that's actually creating that already, and that's attracting what we want, right?
Hmm. Yep. Yeah, I describe that sometimes, just how the energy works. It's like it sends out ripples, right? It's like a radio
Right,
wave, right? And then it comes
right.
back. It's like this complete flow. Yep.
Yeah, totally.
Mhm. Thank you. That was beautiful, Wendy. I love that. All right, let's see. So I don't know what's coming through. Is there any like blocks that you feel people have to either being authentic or listening to their intuition or even having the courage, right, to
Mhm.
follow their dreams and what they want? And then how do you help them overcome those potential blocks?
Yeah, well, the first step I think is finding people whom you can be authentic with,
Yeah.
right? And it may be friends or people you already have in your life, but in a lot of cases, people don't feel like they can be fully authentic with the people in their life.
Hmm.
So it could be working with a coach, it could be working with a teacher or a healer, and being able to completely share. And this is why it's important to find someone who you intuitively connect with,
Hmm.
where you don't feel like you have to pretend that you're something you're not with this person. You really feel like they get you, and that anything you say is not going to be judged or is not going to be viewed harshly. And one of the things that I would share in the Asian American community, I had a guest on my podcast recently, and she's an expert on mental health in the Asian American community. And Asian American people have the highest rates of depression and suicide of any demographic in the country.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, and a lot of that is because we've spent so much of our lives trying to be a certain way rather than being ourselves and being authentic. So, what I've noticed in working with clients is them being able to just let everything out, to be able to share every thought,
Yeah.
everything that they're feeling, to get I don't know, to drain. I like to say to drain the pain
Nice.
is extremely helpful. And when they realize, wait, I'm not a total weirdo. Wait, I'm not a total freak. You can relate to this. You get me. That's when they can start to be more authentic with other people in their
Hmm.
lives.
Hmm.
Does
Hmm.
that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking about my best friend. It's like you could say anything, right? And it's all accepted. So it is that, like we were talking about before, that it's like that safety, right? Because it's like, okay,
Exactly.
you're not judging me, you love me unconditionally, great, so it allows, to me, that's almost like the greatest freedom,
Mhm.
is to have
Yeah.
that allowing that it's all okay, like you're okay, and to be
Yeah.
met in that place.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
feel like, yeah, I feel like you have that presence too, just your heart and your ability to hold space. I just really just want to say thank you for being that for so many people. You just have that. It's all okay. Like there's just, you don't have judgment that I can ever feel in your field. So I think it's really sweet. So.
Thank you. I receive that. I don't know about never feeling judgment, like, but yeah, definitely with the people who I get to work with, and for the most part, like I think one of my gifts is empathy and
Mhm,
compassion, and I think I've spent a lot of my life feeling like I was crazy and weird and out
mhm.
there. So really, when people tell me stuff, it just doesn't phase me.
Right. You're like, I've seen and heard and felt it all. It's all good. Yeah.
Exactly.
I know. Me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same, same. Yeah. Nice. Oh, such a beautiful background back there. So you said you just went on a trip with your family, right?
Yes. So since the pandemic began, we haven't been traveling much, obviously. And so I grew up again for part of my childhood in Hawaii, and my mom and stepdad are in Hawaii. So yeah, we got to go for almost 3 weeks in December, which was amazing because
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all in that space of missing travel, and uh, being able to do that was really magnificent. And I mean, I'm a Pisces, and I love the water. And one of the things that taken on, or I had taken on in 2020, was learning to surf,
Mm.
which in San Diego right now is not that easy because the water is so cold.
Wow.
So yeah. So it was really awesome to be able to not have to wear a wetsuit. And yeah,
Yeah, that is nice. Yeah, the
yeah.
water is warmer over there for sure, for sure, for sure. Wow, let's see. Where do we want to go from here? So, hmm, I think more just on intuition. So, how you connect to it, even on a daily basis, that guides you in your, I was going to say job as a mother and job as, working with your clients. I mean, just how you're showing up. So, what are some, daily practices you do to stay connected to your intuition, and
Mm-hmm.
also to be congruent? That word's coming through too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it takes definitely some effort,
Hmm.
because I wasn't necessarily, and probably most of us weren't encouraged to necessarily follow our intuition from a young age, right?
Hmm.
So even the other day, I was dealing with a business decision, and I'm like, okay, well, should I do a challenge? Should I do a webinar? Should I? And I was really kind of getting in this loop
Mm.
of what to do, and a lot of it was based on, well, what should I do? Like,
Mhm.
what would the experts do? What would marketing gurus say to do? And it was interesting because my coach I had scheduled a call with my coach, and she had gotten really sick, so we couldn't do the call. And I was like, uh-oh, what am I gonna do? And then I took a shower, and like, why am I stressing about this? I
Mhm.
need to do what feels good and feels right for me. Like, there.
Mhm.
And so that, yeah, what is going to be fun for me, what is going to be joyful for me. It's
Mhm.
not about what people tell me, it's not about what other people think I should do, or how many likes or how many subscribers I'm going to get. It's really about what I feel good about. So that's something that really helps me, is just asking myself, when I start looping into that, asking myself, well, what would feel good, what would be fun.
Mhm.
And then in terms of grounding, uh like I do have a morning routine, where so one of the tools that I really love is EFT.
Mhm.
So I love EFT. I do EFT regularly in the mornings based on how I'm feeling. Today mine was on joyfulness.
Nice.
and, and yeah, I also do a lot of visualization,
Mhm.
and just really asking myself, well, looking looking and feeling at how I want to feel in my body. So those kinds of practices ground me so that I can listen more
Mhm.
to my own voice, versus, because we have all of these things trying to grab our attention, right? Whether it's the media, social media, people in our lives who mean well, but it truly is about listening to our own voice.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. And I think it's like, I know it's the voice of love, right? Because I think I was sharing with you how sometimes the subconscious can have these thoughts that aren't necessarily even true, or,
Right,
you know,
right.
so, like getting back to the heart and okay, what resonates to love, right? Because, to find your inner voice, sometimes I know for me, it's like, well, this voice is that, this is that, right? And then what's true is moving into the center, where you are the voice.
Yeah, yeah, and that's so true. Listening, are you coming from a place of love or fear
Hmm.
when you're making a decision?
Right.
when you're in an interaction. Where are you coming from? And that is a really wonderful way to to assess and to guide yourself, is by,
Mm-hmm.
okay, where is this thought coming from? Is it from fear or from love?
Right. I love that. It's beautiful. It's a good foundation to know where you're coming from. Absolutely. Let's see. I'm wondering what else the listeners might appreciate. We're probably going to open the phone lines in like 15 minutes for questions. Are you okay with that? Any live questions?
Yeah, definitely, that would be wonderful.
Okay, so we'll do that in a little bit here. Um, let's see. Are there any next steps that you feel would be appropriate to help people kind of connect in with their intuition and manifest like into reality, right? Because it's great to have all these like energetic things, and that really is where it starts. But then to
Hmm.
bring it into the physical, do you have any ways that we talked about grounding, but like next steps to kind of make your dreams a reality, really?
Yeah, so one of the things that I would say is to take an action.
Mm-hmm.
So
Intuitive action, one that feels
yes.
good, and take action from that place of love. Yeah.
Yeah, so what happened in 20, one of the biggest things for me in 2020, and we talked about this a little bit, was to let go of alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
So what I had noticed is that with the pandemic picking up and
Yeah.
staying at home, like I've never really, like I've never drunk a lot of alcohol. Like, I prior to the pandemic, it would be like maybe a couple of drinks on the weekend, right? But as the pandemic got started and progressed, I was drinking like one or two drinks daily. And it was becoming this thing where it was almost like a reward, if you will. Like, okay, like it's so hard. We're under pandemic. It's like 5 o'clock. I deserve a drink, right? And then, then it'd be like, oh, it's 4 o'clock. I deserve, like, so I was getting into this pattern of just, so I wasn't really listening to my intuition. In fact, I was numbing,
Mm-hmm.
because I was feeling stressed. I was feeling stressed about having to, like, homeschool my children and trying to figure out how to manage my business, and now my husband was working from home, and just anxiety and different things. And so I remember, one of my friends, he was drinking, and she got into this situation, and she is not like a hardcore drinker, but she got into this situation where CPS got involved with her kid.
What's that? What is that?
Child Protective Services.
Oh, okay.
And so for me, that was like a big wake up call. I was like, wow, like she's kind of similar to me. She's just a mom, like. And it was just like a sign to me of like, wait, Wendy, like, start looking at this.
Mm-hmm.
Start looking at this area of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And my intuition was like, yeah, maybe you should take a break from alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
But then there was this part of me that was becoming dependent, not like as a hardcore alcoholic, but as like a numbing agent. So I the action that I took was, okay, I'm gonna join this. There was this program, and I'm gonna join this program, and for 90 days I'm not gonna drink alcohol. And that really shifted my life. That one action, that one thing, it clarified, it cleared my mind so much. And I started to have to actually get in touch with some of the painful emotions that I was avoiding. So it wasn't easy,
Mm-hmm.
but now I feel like I can really get in touch with my intuition. Whereas before, it was more difficult because the alcohol, and I'm not judging people, and I'm not saying like everybody should get off of alcohol, but for me, that was the one thing, one action that I could take, and that shifted so many things in my life. Like I feel more connected to my kids now. I feel more connected to my husband. I started working out regularly,
Mhm.
and I actually feel physically stronger than I ever have in my life.
Mhm.
And so it really did, and now I'm on like a healthy eating plan, and I feel so good in my body. So really, I would just ask the audience, like, what is one thing, that one action that you can take, because action does beget action, and that one thing we do can really shift our entire lives.
Mhm. I love that. Wow. Thanks for sharing. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah. I love that. Yeah, I guess I'm just feeling into, the other clients and things you've worked with. You talked about the accomplishment piece. How have you seen when you're following your intuition, how relationships, like personal relationships, come together?
Mm.
I'd love for you to share something on that.
Definitely. Well, one client comes to mind, and I'll refer to her as Jen, just for confidentiality. So when I started working together with Jen last year, she she was the mom, or is a mom of a young child,
Mm,
and is married, and literally just she is seeing a therapist, but she was pretty much depressed,
mhm,
and she hadn't she was really smart. She had so many ideas, but just wasn't taking any action on any of them, and was feeling like he just felt really bad too, because she knew how it was affecting her child,
mhm.
and she had absolutely no energy. And so we started working together, and a lot of it was about her setting healthy boundaries.
Mm,
And part of the problem was she wasn't doing anything for herself. She wasn't definitely wasn't listening to her intuition, because she was doing everything for her kid, her husband, her family. But the thing that was interesting is she thought that it was other people, like she expected, for instance, her husband to know that she needed self-care.
mhm.
So she didn't tell him, "Hey, I am going to go for a couple of hours to the spa,
Mhm,
and I need you to watch our child during that
mhm,
time."
mhm,
So she just kind of thought that he should know that and should volunteer that.
mm.
So one of the things that we really worked on is like, what do you need for yourself? Like what,
Right.
and and for her it was, she started painting. She actually ended up writing a book for that she was really passionate about. She and now she has no problem asking her husband
Yeah.
for time to go to the spa, to hang out with her friends, to do things for herself.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
the thing that's amazing is they have an amazing relationship.
Wow. That's
Like
awesome.
he actually wanted to support her,
Aw,
but he didn't know how, because she wasn't expressing that.
right.
So now they are super connected. They're having great sex. she she's happy.
Yeah.
Their kid is happy.
Nice.
So it's really like when we get in touch with our needs and wants, when we stop being that martyr,
Mhm.
and and take responsibility and ask for what we want, and tell people what we need, that actually does bring more intimacy and connection in our relationship.
Mhm. Absolutely. Again,
Yeah.
being authentic. This is what I need. Totally. That's great.
Absolutely. And it's funny because I think we've been conditioned to think, well, if I express what I need or if I do self-care, that's selfish.
Hmm.
And people will actually not want to be around me.
Hmm.
Or people will be upset with me.
Hmm.
But that's not true. That's not true. And again, it goes back to that what's that loving thing,
Hmm.
right? When we love ourselves, that's when we can share love with other people. If we're not loving ourselves, then there's really no love to share.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think just filling yourself up,
Mhm.
even with your own self, what brings me joy? What, man, there's so many beautiful birds outside right now. Like 20 of them are just coming up and I think
Oh,
they're
that's
feeling the love. Yeah, it's so fun.
awesome.
I love it. And it's like, it kind of gives you like wings to fly, right? When you open up to the love, you lift, and then yes, you uplift people around you. But again, what is it that brings you joy? What is it that makes you feel more self-love? For me, I love the ocean. Like I'm a Pisces too. So it's kind of like,
Yeah.
what fills you up, and do that. The
Yeah,
next
one
self-loving action.
yeah, absolutely. One of the things in my program, so I am launching a program or a cohort of my program in January, and it's called the Slay and Play Sisterhood. And
Mm,
I really believe that when we're joyful, when we're playful, when we're self-loving, that actually we can accomplish more in our
mhm,
lives, and we can do it in a way that is fulfilling and joyful. So one of the things we focus on is playing
mhm,
and doing things that maybe you haven't done in decades, but that
mhm,
you love to do as a child.
mhm,
So for me, it's
mhm,
climbing trees, blowing bubbles,
mhm,
um, running around playing tag.
mhm,
But and a lot of times as moms, we do that for our kids,
mhm,
but we don't do it for ourselves.
mm,
So I've actually been doing play dates, not with my kids, but for myself and with friends, where we
mhm,
just play. And at first, it's very awkward and uncomfortable because we're in our society, we're conditioned so that we're so focused on work and achievement and productivity versus being playful and joyful. But it is amazing but we need, as adults, we need that as well.
mhm. Yeah, totally. Yep, totally. 100%. I know. I'll do that. I'm like, hey, you want to go out? Just because it lifts the vibe, right? It lifts your
Exactly.
spirit. Mhm.
Exactly. Yeah.
Totally. Totally. And finding new ways to do that too. I mean, I know in California, it's like everything, a lot of things actually are open where I live, but it's like if there's a place that's not open, what else can you do? Can you meet a friend for a walk or, to kind of get creative? Find that.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. Well, let's see. I will let everybody know the number they can call in if you have any questions. You can call 858-692-4555 if you have any questions for Wendy or I. And yeah, Wendy, so let's see what else is just inspiring for you. I mean, we're talking so much about lifting up.
Mhm.
Anything else that is just inspiring for you that actually I'm also thinking about your kids as you feel that inspired energy, your kids naturally kind of soak up that good vibes too.
Yeah, so definitely being able to support women and especially women of color
Hmm.
because they're whether it's life coaching or uh, more non-traditional ways of looking at how to, like you said, that even the concept of lifting your vibration,
Hmm.
that's not something a lot of people, women of color, are familiar with.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of tools that I feel like our community is not leveraging and is not aware of. And now with so many things happening around diversity and inclusion, I'm excited to be able to support women of color in using these tools, but in a way that's culturally going to work.
Mhm.
So one of the things that so one of my clients, or former clients, I should say, she was looking for a coach who looked like her,
Mm.
and she was having a really hard time finding one. And so we got connected, and she told me how she had been interviewing different coaches, and one of the coaches whom she interviewed was a white woman, and she, being a person of color, said that her desire was to coach women from her community.
Mm.
And the coach asked her, "Oh, well, do they have enough money for coaching?"
Mm.
And that, needless to say, that wasn't great. And so my belief is really that, and we started working together, and it was amazing. And I really believe that when we empower communities of color, that it does elevate everybody. So
And
that's really my mission. That's really my passion, especially going into the new year. That's something that wakes me up in the morning. That gets me excited to get out of bed.
Mhm.
So that's something that, um, yeah, I just really feel aligned with.
Mhm. And I think just, whatever the community is, coming together in community,
Yeah.
there's power in that, power in
Hmm.
numbers. Um, and I know you did mention you have that group coaching thing. So I don't know if there's a way people can reach out to you if they're interested in that and feeling inspired to learn more and join you. If you want to share any information about that or how they can contact you, please feel free.
Yeah. So it's called the Slay and Play Sisterhood, and so you just go to Slay and is spelled AND, Play Sisterhood, and you can find out information there and apply for the program to see if it's a good fit for you.
Nice. Very cool. Can they also, if they just had a personal question, like email you directly if,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. I'm all about connecting
yeah,
and supporting and empowering people. So
yeah,
absolutely. My email address is Wendy at beyondblendingin.com.
beautiful. Yay. Well, is there anything else that you want to share with the audience today, Wendy?
No, I think we've really covered it. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I do really think this is a very unique time in our history,
Yeah.
and I do believe, even though it's a hard time for a lot of us, that there's always opportunities.
Mm.
There's always silver lining.
Yeah.
And if anything, I do believe that this is a time where we can use it as an opportunity to really listen, to find our voice, to listen to our voice and use it. So that's what I would. I guess I did have something to share after all.
Listen to your voice for love, right? And just that intuition within you, let it emerge, right? And again, I think the biggest thing that I just really want to share with everybody is to make sure that your thoughts and your actions and everything is aligned with love, because that is your
Exactly.
intuition, right? Like that is the most powerful vibration. It's who we are. I believe it's really where we're created from, right? Like, I mean, babies, like you
Absolutely.
make love to have a baby. So, like, for the love of God, we're all love,
Absolutely.
you know?
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah, it's the
yeah,
most creative force
right.
there is, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. So just allowing that expression to be your most authentic self, and then just watch your world like probably transform and have miracles all around you, because as you raise your vibration into that, you
Hmm.
attract that positive energy. So, Wendy,
Yeah,
I'm
thank
so
you.
grateful. Yeah, I'm so grateful for you too. So I'm probably going to log off here and stop the recording. If you want to hang on for a couple minutes, we can wrap up after. Um,
Okay.
again, if there's any other calls, we haven't gotten any yet. But I just really invite everybody to reach out to Wendy. She's obviously amazing. And man, at the very least, just to feel her hold space for you, to really open up to what's true for you, and have the courage to follow your authentic path and your intuition. So, all right, everyone, we will see you next week and have a beautiful one. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Mhm. Okay, so actually, Wendy, I'm gonna go ahead and log off, and then I'll send you another link. But I'm gonna log
Okay.
off here.